Imagine your brain as a muscle that's been sitting on the couch for years, scrolling through Instagram and checking emails every 5 minutes. Now picture what happens when you finally decide to hit the gym and transform that flabby mind into a powerhouse of focus and productivity. That's exactly what Cal Newport's deep work is all about. And trust me, the results are absolutely game-changing. You know what's crazy? We live in this hyper-connected world where everyone's constantly buzzing with notifications, jumping from one shallow task to another, and wondering why they never seem to accomplish anything meaningful. Meanwhile, there's this secret weapon hiding in plain sight that can literally transform your career and life. It's called deep work, and it's the email to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks that push your skills to their absolute limit. Think about it this way. When you're constantly switching between email, social media, and random meetings, your brain is like a car that keeps stopping and starting in traffic. You're burning fuel, making noise, getting nowhere fast. Deep work is like hitting the highway with a clear road ahead. You're cruising at top speed, covering massive distances, and actually getting somewhere incredible. Newport breaks this down brilliantly. He says there are two core abilities you absolutely must master to thrive in today's economy. First, you need to quickly master hard things. The world's changing so fast that if you can't learn new skills rapidly, you're going to get left behind. Second, you need to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed. And here's the kicker. Both of these abilities depend entirely on your capacity for deep work. But here's where it gets really interesting. Deep work isn't just about productivity, it's about completely rewiring your brain for success. When you focus intensely on a specific skill, you're literally forcing the relevant circuits in your brain to fire again and again. This creates something called myelin, which is like insulation around your neural pathways. The more myelin you build, the faster and more efficiently your brain processes information in that area. Now you might be thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually do it? Newport gives us 4 powerful philosophies to choose from. There's the monastic approach, where you completely isolate yourself from distractions for extended periods. Think of writers who disappear to mountain cabins for months. Then there's the bimodal philosophy, where you divide your time clearly between deep work periods and everything else. You might dedicate entire days or weeks to deep work, then handle all your shallow tasks in batches. The rhythmic approach is probably the most practical for most of us. You establish a regular routine, maybe 2 hours every morning before the world wakes up, and you stick to it religiously. Finally, there's the journalistic philosophy, where you switch into deep work mode whenever you have a free moment. This one's tough because it requires incredible mental discipline. But wait, there's more to this than just scheduling. Newport talks about something called the principle of least resistance, and this is where things get really eye-opening. Most people, when faced with a choice between doing something difficult that creates real value and doing something easy that feels productive, will choose the easy option every single time. We send emails instead of writing that important report. We attend meetings instead of solving complex problems. We check social media instead of learning new skills.
This principle is literally destroying our capacity for deep work. Every time you give in to distraction, you're training your brain to crave more distraction. It's like feeding sugar to a child. They're going to want more and more until they can't focus on anything else. Here's something that might surprise you. Newport argues that being bored is actually beneficial. I know it sounds crazy in our instant gratification world, but hear me out. When you constantly stimulate your brain with quick dopamine hits from social media, games, and random internet browsing, you're essentially destroying your ability to concentrate on difficult tasks. Your brain becomes addicted to stimulation and can't handle the sustained focus that deep work requires. So what's the solution? You need to embrace boredom. Train your brain to be okay with not being entertained every single second. When you're waiting in line, don't immediately grab your phone. When you're walking somewhere, don't put on a podcast. Let your mind wander. Let it get comfortable with not being constantly stimulated. This is like strength training for your attention span. Newport also talks about something called productive meditation. This is where you take a period when you're physically occupied but mentally free, like walking or showering, and focus your attention on a single well-defined professional problem. You're training your brain to sustain focus even when it's not being externally stimulated. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, social media. Newport doesn't say you have to quit completely, but he does argue that these platforms are fragmenting your attention and making deep work nearly impossible. Every notification, every like, every comment is training your brain to expect constant stimulation. It's like trying to build muscle while simultaneously taking muscle-relaxing drugs. The solution isn't necessarily to go cold turkey, though that might work for some people. Instead, Newport suggests what he calls the craftsman approach to tool selection. Instead of using any tool that provides any benefit, you carefully evaluate whether the positive impacts outweigh the negative ones. For most people, the negative impact of social media on their ability to focus far outweighs any benefits they're getting. Here's a practical strategy that can transform your workday immediately. It's called time blocking. Instead of keeping a simple to-do list, you assign every minute of your workday to a specific activity. You literally block out time for deep work, shallow work, email, meetings, everything. This does two incredible things. First, it forces you to be realistic about how much time things actually take. Second, it protects your deep work time from being invaded by shallow tasks. When you're time blocking, be specific about what you're going to work on during each deep work session. Don't just write work on project. Write complete the financial analysis section of the quarterly report. This reduces the mental energy required to figure out what to do when you sit down to work. But here's something crucial that most people miss. You need a shutdown ritual. This is a specific routine you follow at the end of each workday to signal to your brain that work is over. Newport suggests reviewing your schedule for the next day, making sure nothing urgent was missed, and then saying something like shut down complete out loud. This might sound silly, but it's incredibly powerful. It gives your brain permission to stop thinking about work and actually rest. Why is this so important? Because your brain needs downtime to consolidate what you've learned and to recharge for the next day. If you're constantly thinking about work, checking emails at night, or bringing work stress home, you're sabotaging your ability to perform deep work the next day. Rest isn't laziness, it's a crucial component of peak performance. Newport also introduces us to something called attention residue. When you switch from one task to another, part of your attention remains stuck on the previous task. It's like having multiple browser tabs open in your mind, each one consuming mental resources. The more you switch between tasks, the more fragmented your attention becomes and the less capable you are of deep work. This is why batching similar tasks together is so powerful. Instead of checking email throughout the day, you might check it 3 times at scheduled intervals. Instead of taking meetings randomly throughout the week, you might batch them all into specific days. This minimizes task switching and preserves your mental energy for deep work. Here's something that might change how you think about your career entirely. Newport argues that in the new economy, there are 3 types of people who will have a significant advantage. First, those who can work with intelligent machines, like programmers and engineers. Second, those who have access to capital. And third, superstars in their field. Deep work is what separates the superstars from everyone else. Think about the most successful people in your industry. I guarantee they've mastered the ability to focus intensely on the most important aspects of their work. They're not the ones constantly checking email or attending every meeting. They're the ones who disappear for hours at a time and emerge with breakthrough ideas, innovative solutions, and exceptional work. The beautiful thing about deep work is that it's not about having a special job or unique circumstances. As Newport says, you don't need a rarefied job. You need instead a rarefied approach to your work. Whether you're an accountant, a teacher, a consultant, or an entrepreneur, you can apply these principles to dramatically increase your value and impact. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. We live in a culture that rewards busyness over productivity, connectivity over concentration. Your colleagues might not understand why you're not immediately responding to every email. Your boss might question why you're not available for every meeting. This is where you need to be strategic about how you implement deep work. Start small. Maybe it's just 30 minutes of focused work each morning before you check email. Maybe it's one afternoon per week where you turn off all notifications and work on your most important project. The key is consistency. Like physical exercise, the benefits of deep work compound over time. The more you practice, the stronger your focus becomes and the more valuable your work becomes. Newport shares a powerful insight about the neurological benefits of deep work. When you focus deeply on something meaningful, your brain actually produces more of the neurotransmitters associated with happiness and satisfaction. In contrast, when you spend your day jumping between shallow tasks and distractions, your brain produces stress hormones that leave you feeling drained and unfulfilled. This means that deep work isn't just about professional success, it's about personal well-being. When you work deeply on something that matters, you experience what psychologists call flow state. Time seems to disappear. You feel completely absorbed in the task and you emerge feeling energized rather than depleted.
Here's a practical exercise you can try right now. For the next week, keep a detailed log of how you spend your time. Every 15 minutes, write down what you're doing and whether it's deep work or shallow work. You might be shocked by how little time you actually spend on cognitively demanding tasks that create real value. Once you have this baseline, you can start making strategic changes. Maybe you realize you're spending 2 hours a day on email when 30 minutes would be sufficient. Maybe you discover that your most productive deep work happens in the morning, so you should protect that time fiercely. Maybe you notice that certain environments or times of the day make deep work easier. The goal isn't to eliminate all shallow work. That's neither possible nor desirable. Shallow work serves important functions like coordination, communication, and maintenance. The goal is to be intentional about the ratio. Newport suggests that for most knowledge workers, the sweet spot is spending about 60 to 70% of their time on deep work and 30 to 40% on shallow work. But here's the thing that really sets deep work apart from other productivity strategies. It's not just about getting more done, it's about getting better at what you do. When you consistently push your cognitive abilities to their limit, you don't just complete more tasks, you actually become more skilled, more creative, more valuable. Think of it like athletic training. A runner doesn't just run more miles to get faster. They run specific types of workouts that push their body to adapt and improve. Deep work is like interval training for your brain. You're not just working longer hours, you're working in a way that forces your mind to grow stronger and more capable. This is why deep work is so transformative. It's not just a productivity hack, it's a path to mastery. Whether you want to become a better writer, a more innovative engineer, a more insightful analyst, or a more effective leader, deep work is the vehicle that will get you there. The time to start is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down at work. Right now. Pick one thing that's important to your career or personal growth. Set aside 30 minutes. Turn off all notifications. Close all unnecessary browser tabs. Put your phone in another room and focus with the intensity of a laser beam on that one thing. You might be surprised by what you accomplish. You might be amazed by how good it feels to work without distraction. You might discover that you're capable of much more than you ever imagined. And that's just the beginning. Because once you taste the power of deep work, once you experience what it feels like to operate at your cognitive peak, you'll never want to go back to the scattered, shallow way of working that's become so common in our distracted world. The future belongs to those who can focus. The question is, will you be one of them?